Hey, this is Nicky G and welcome to Better Commander. Today we're having a zombie block party with Varina, Lich Queen. Varina the Lich Queen is one of my longest running decks. I never bought the precon she came in, just singles from that set. I built Varina based on what I had at the time and slowly acquired cool zombie lords and built a monstrosity that lives to this day. I revisit it with every set. I recently added a Necro Duality from the most recent Innistrad set for additional zombie copies. I also pulled a Coffin Queen out of one of the recent collections I bought. This card is beautiful. The art is classic. It's sure to get reprinted at some point, but I definitely wanted to stick that in my zombie deck. Well, you know, I also have a little Mikaeus in there, a couple combo pieces, Phyrexian Altar, Gravecrawler. Suffice to say, it's a more expensive deck. But the ways in which this deck wins is usually on the backs of less expensive cards, often on drain effects and zombie synergy pieces. There have been quite a few new zombies printed in recent sets, and I wanted to see if I could follow a similar blueprint for $70. Varina just got a reprint in Double Masters 2022, so let's go. But before we get too deep, consider subscribing to my channel. I tend to recommend cards you might not find on EDH Rec and particular synergy pieces that I've found to be useful in practice. Every like, comment, subscription helps, and someday I might be able to afford a single Tic Tac to feed my family. Varina Lich Queen is 1 white, blue, and a black for a legendary creature zombie wizard. It's a 4/4. Whenever you attack with one or more zombies, draw that many cards, then discard that many cards. You gain that much life. It also has 2 generic mana, exile 2 cards from your graveyard, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. We have a looting effect that can get really silly when we get a couple zombies onto the battlefield. The life gain is nice, but I never really built around that. We also have this Graveyard Excision effect to create more zombies, which is definitely relevant. We want lots of zombies and can exile lands and things we don't care about to create tokens. We have 3 core strategies with this deck: zombies, mass recursion, and drain effects. Zombies have a ton of synergy between them, and we have several cheap lords to choose from. How about Blade Stitch Scab? It's a blue and a black for a creature zombie soldier 2/3. Other zombies you control get +1/+0. Then you got the Cemetery Reaper, yeah, 1 black for a creature zombie. Other zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. It also has 2 and a black and tap. Exile target creature card from a graveyard. Create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So we can exile our opponent's cards from their graveyards as well. How about this guy, the Death Baron, swimming in the green miasma. 1 black for a creature zombie wizard. It's a 2/2. Skeletons you control and other zombies you control get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. This used to be way more expensive, but has come down due to reprints. Love this guy. Then we have the Tomb Tyrant, 3 and a black for a creature zombie noble. It's a 3/3. Other zombies you control get +1/+1. It also has 2 and a black, tap, sacrifice a creature, return a zombie creature card at random from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only during your turn and only if there are at least 3 zombie creature cards in your graveyard. This is a newer lord that fits great in a budget deck. It's a 3/3. It's not a bad size. And you can also get this graveyard recursion effect if you have nothing better to do with your mana. Hordewing Shaab, 4 and a blue for a creature. It's a zombie horror 3/3 with flying. Other zombies you control have flying, so whenever 1 or more zombies you control deal combat damage to 1 or more of your opponents, you may draw cards equal to the number of opponents dealt damage this way. If you do, discard that many cards. So this guy had the opportunity to put a real felonious weapon on the end of a chain attached to his forearm, but instead he just put his hands back there for some long-range slapping. Don't know what that's all about. So we want our zombies attacking into safe and friendly skies, so this guy rocks. I'll mention Wonder here as well. Just make sure you have an island. He's an honorary zombie lord cheerleading from the graveyard. And then you have this guy, Lord of the Accursed. 2 and a black for a creature zombie. It's a 2/3. Other zombies you control get +1/+1. It also has 1 and a black, tap. All zombies gain menace until the end of turn. So menace is great too. This is cheap and can provide evasion in a pinch. This guy looks like Mr. Bernie Face from Game of Thrones. So this is Diregraf Captain, 1 blue and a black for a creature zombie soldier. It's a 2/2 with Death Touch. Other zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever another zombie you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life. This is a lord that feeds into our drain strategy. I love this little guy. He's one of the OGs. Gravebom Muse is 2 black for a creature. It's a zombie spirit 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of zombies you control. Another absolutely necessary zombie synergy piece. You end up losing lots of life, but getting it all back when you attack with Varina. Plus, look at that art, man. This card is absolutely beautiful. The one thing you might want to keep in mind is that you can sacrifice her prior to your upkeep with a card like Carrion Feeder or one of our other sack outlets if you're going to draw yourself out, which is a real possibility in this deck. Alright, let's get into some mass recursion. There are 4 mass recursion cards that make Varina a really strong commander. The basic play pattern is to play out 5 or so cheap zombies and or tokens by turn 5, attack with them, putting our zombies into the graveyard, and then turn 6 or 7 or both, mass reanimating all our zombies. So Zombie Apocalypse, this is unique to a zombie deck. It's 3 black for a sorcery. Return all zombie creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, then destroy all humans, which may come in handy. This card is fantastic. It's one-sided, keeps Wonder in the graveyard, and it's 32 cents. Twilight's Call, 4 black for a sorcery. You may cast Twilight's Call as though it had flash if you pay 2 more to cast it. Each player returns all creature cards from their graveyard to the battlefield. I love this card. It can be cast at instant speed late game so you can untap with 15 or so zombies. Plus look at the art. Look at this guy in armor just screaming into the wind. Haunting Voyage is 4 black for a sorcery. Choose a creature type, return up to 2 creature cards of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield. If the spell was foretold, return all creature cards of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield instead. And it has foretell for 5 black, so you can pay 2 during your turn, exile this card from your hand face down, cast it on a later turn for its foretell cost. This is a little more expensive, but has the added bonus of being unilateral. Only you get this effect. It's a newer card out of Kaldheim, and I'm going to give it a try. Patriarch's Bidding, 3 black for a sorcery. Each player chooses a creature type. Each player returns all creature cards of a type chosen this way from their graveyard to the battlefield. This is now $2. I bought 5 of these when they got reprinted, and all of them are in decks. Any tribal deck using black needs this because you're going to face removal, board wipes, incidental discard, and mill, and you can bounce back most often in a better position than you were before. This card's great, just buy one. Alright, so we're putting a lot of stuff in the graveyard, we're mass reanimating, but we don't want to rely on the combat step to win, although that's certainly a win condition in this deck. So we need drain effects. But first, let me mention that a lot of these drain effects rely on creatures dying, so we want to choose when they die with some free instant speed sacrifice outlets. Picture combat with 6 zombies. We draw and discard a bunch into the yard with Varina's ability, then we sacrifice all of our creatures, just bring them back again with one of our mass reanimation spells. So we have Carrion Feeder, Phyrexian Ghoul, and Nantuko Husk. These are all zombies we can use to kill our zombies for reanimation second main phase. If this wasn't a budget deck, I'd recommend Altar of Dementia, as this can fill our yard even quicker, but it is a budget deck. We also don't want to end up in top deck mode if we get board wiped. So Archghoul of Thraben, Undead Augur, and Midnight Reaper can refill our hands if all of our zombies get killed out there. Anyway, let's move on to some drain effects. Grey Merchant of Asphodel, 3 black for a creature, it's a zombie 2/4. When the Grey Merchant enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So this is the big daddy of all drain effects. If Gary gets reanimated with 3 other zombies, his ability can trigger for 10 to 12 damage and we gain 30 life. Then we sack and reanimate him to do it again. This smiling zombie capitalist is a win condition in and of itself. Then we have Calculating Lich. This guy's out here with an astral calculator. For black for a creature, it's a zombie wizard 5/5 with menace. Whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents, that player loses 1 life. This is now $1.29 due to a reprint and drains our opponents nicely, whether we are attacking or another player is attacking them. Corpse Knight is white and a black for a creature, it's a zombie knight 2/2. Make sure you get the right power and toughness. One was printed as a 2/3, it's incorrect. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. So with all the mass reanimation effects we have in this deck, we can drain our opponents quite quickly with this on the battlefield. Noxious Ghoul, 3 black for a creature, it's a zombie 3/3. Whenever Noxious Ghoul or another zombie enters the battlefield, all non-zombie creatures get -1/-1 until the end of turn. This got a list reprint and I love the comic book pulpy art on this guy. My opponents get all excited when I cast Twilight's Call, only to realize that 6 zombies just entered the battlefield along with this little monster, and all their stuff is dead anyways. This doesn't necessarily drain our opponents, but it's a drain effect on all of the creatures that we don't control. Plague Belcher, this is 2 and a black for a creature, it's a zombie beast with menace. When it enters the battlefield, put 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature you control. You usually just end up putting them on Plague Belcher. Whenever another zombie you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. This is the first of the zombie death triggers we need our sacrifice outlets to trigger. I hadn't realized this beast is up to $3, but it's worth it. Shepherd of Rot is 1 and a black for a creature. It's a zombie cleric 1/1. It has tap. Each player loses 1 life for each zombie on the battlefield. So this is another sweet drain effect, but keep in mind this affects you as well. So if there's 17 zombies on the battlefield and you're at 15 life, you might not want to do this. Vengeful Dead, 3 and a black for a creature zombie. It's a 3/2. Whenever Vengeful Dead or another zombie dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Now this guy, he replaces hand with a sweet spiky ball, which is far less embarrassing than Hordewing's dumb idea. Wayward Servant, white and a black for a creature. It's a zombie 2/2. Whenever another zombie enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. If one of the anointed fails to serve with perfect obedience, the desert is always ready to receive it. This guy's just wandering around the desert looking for a taco stand. Well, you know, I also added some recursion like Victimize and Persist. So you want to get key creatures out of the yard. You also want some removal so we can deal with our opponent's stuff. This entire deck can be had for $65 or so on TCG Player as of the date of this recording, including shipping. Not bad for a badass commander deck. Anyways, I'll put the budget version and my deck in the description so you can check them out. No better time to get a copy of Varina. She just got a reprint in the new Double Masters. So goldfish it. Try it out with your bros in the night at your midnight giggle fests, filled to the brim with churlish glee as you reanimate your way to victory. This is going to be Nicky G from Better Commander, signing off.